Regardless of movies releasing consistently in theaters now, there's been a group of horror films coming exclusively to Netflix I've been getting hyped about. The one that released this weekend is the first in a series of 3, and I'm here to give you my thoughts on it. That being Fear Street Part 1, 1994. So if y'all aren't familiar with Fear Street, it's a book series written by the one and only RL Stine. That's right, the same guy who gave us all those nightmares with his Goosebumps books back in the day. The Fear Street series was meant to be more mature than Goosebumps though, and this film adaptation makes that very clear early on. This film centers around a group of kids living in the town of Shadyside. This town has always been notorious for having brutal killings over the years, but unfortunately, this circle of high schoolers are met with the ancient evil responsible for them. I'll say this right off the bat. Before I went into this movie, I expected a simplistic plot and to have a fun time. And that's exactly what I got. But what I wasn't expecting was the attention to detail with all the 90s nostalgia. And I was born in 91, so this movie hits close to home for me. The soundtrack is on point too. It's got 9 Inch Nails, Cypress Hill, Garbage. And in addition to that, composer Marco Beltrami utilizes that menacing orchestral horror music that older movies would have. Makes sense though, because he was the composer for the Scream franchise, Hellboy, Resident Evil, and countless other films. Fear Street 1994 is the prime example of nostalgia done right. B. Dalton, AOL chat rooms, Blockbuster VHS tapes just laying around, mid-part hairstyles, goth kids, skaters, and it's full of classic 90s movie tropes. You know, there's always a scene in the horror movie where they're running away from the killer, they get away for a little bit, pick up the phone, dial 911, they get a hold of the police, and like right as they're talking to the police when they ask where they're at, they drop the phone and run away. And also, just like many other horror movies, whenever you'd see the kids at home, there's a lot of the times where just the parents weren't around. I mean, what the hell? I just all around loved the vibes this movie was putting out. Stranger Things meets scary stories to tell in the dark, with a little bit more cheesy dialogue though, but you could tell that was intentional. The violence and gore wasn't like Saw level ridiculous or anything like that, but it definitely fit for a movie like this. I will say, wait until you get to the grocery store scene if y'all want to see my favorite kill. I'm definitely going to be comparing this film to Stranger Things more than once too. First off, you have Maya Hawke, who was in part 1, and she played Robin in season 3 of the show. Lee Janik, the director of this film, is married to one of the Duffer brothers, and also within 10 minutes of this movie, I could really tell they filmed in Georgia just like Stranger Things. Moving on, I want to talk about the characters for a little bit. For the most part, these high schoolers actually look like high schoolers. Y'all remember when you see like a 27-year-old in a high school movie trying to play that shit off? Yeah, okay. Best performances in this movie for me would have to go to Benjamin Flores Jr. as Josh. Dude is 100% me in high school. Nerdy, listens to rock and metal, always on the computer. Oh, and he's also after chicks way out of his league. Yep, guilty. Besides him, the other standout was Fred Heckinger as Simon. Dude ends up almost dying too because he sees a hot chick, she looks sketchy as hell mind you, and still tries to approach her. Might not be the brightest guy. He's also over here making pop culture references all the time, and at one point he talks about cranking it. Yeah, again, that's me. Lastly, the killers in this film are definitely an homage to our classic slashers. I mean, Skull Mask, Ghostface, Camp Nightwing Killer, Jason Voorhees. Y'all notice that shit too, right? So my final thoughts on this. If you're expecting something brand new and groundbreaking, you're probably gonna be let down by this. There's nostalgia, cheesy moments, representation for different genders and races, and again, it's just fun. That's really what a movie needs to come down to, right? And I could rewatch the hell out of this too. I mean, I could nitpick about negatives, like sometimes the romance stuff was a tad over the top, but to be fair, wasn't that how most of our 90s movies were? Also thought it was weird how the kids came back to the scene of a car crash that the police were previously at, and there's no caution tape up? I'm not crazy, but wouldn't you think police, after a few days, would have done something with that car? This is one of those movies I have no problem recommending to fans of the horror genre. I think at the very least you guys will be entertained. Tune in next week as I talk about part 2 of Fear Street, and as always everyone, thanks for watching.